One of the first differences you pick up when it comes to UK versus USA household terminology is that the Brits often use the word Hoover to mean vacuum something as a general term. Americans don't, we simply use the word vacuum, but what's more interesting is that Hoover is actually an American company. And what's way more interesting than that, as I researched exactly how this company had come to dominate the UK market all the way from Ohio, is the major mistake they made in 1992 that cost the company around £50 million, the majority of their UK market share and British consumer trust, which, funnily enough, involves trips to America. If you have no interest in stupid marketing decisions, the fascinating downfall of a company that at one point had it all, or like vacuum cleaners in general, I guess, please click off this video. But if you are along for the weird and wonderful ride of the topics I researched for this channel, let's get started. Hoover is still a company today. You can buy Hoover vacuum cleaners, and they sponsor the Warrington Wolves. Oh no, I just said Wolves the American way. The Warrington Wolves football team. Honestly, I normally would just say whoa, wolves. Okay, what's this video about? Anyway, Hoover still has a percentage of the UK market. It does, about 10% as opposed to about 50% at its peak. Today, the UK vacuum cleaner industry is dominated by Dyson, and Hoover is just a minor player. But they once ruled, so much so that hoovering, as I mentioned, became synonymous with vacuuming in the UK. A very brief history of the company before we get to the fascinating downfall is that in 1907, a janitor named James Spangler from Ohio invented the first electric portable vacuum cleaner. He was not the first to invent the vacuum cleaner, just this specific type, but he had no money to do what he wanted to do with the patent, so he sold it to a man named William Henry Hoover in 1908, who goes on to found the Hoover Company. The first of their products was the 1908 Model O, which sold for $60 at the time, about $2,000 today. So you can see how at the time, vacuum cleaners and Hoover vacuum cleaners were considered a luxury product much more than they are today. Their model at first relied on having stores become Hoover dealers, so he put an ad in the Saturday Evening Post offering 10 days free use of a Hoover suction sweeper to anyone who wrote in and requested one. But the catch was they couldn't buy directly from Hoover, they had to buy from a reputable store that was a Hoover dealer, and the store got commissions from the sales. This method of having people write in actually worked then, so perhaps someone working on the 1992 marketing campaign thought they could recreate the origins of the company with disastrous results. But we'll get there. Hoover eventually absolutely dominated the UK market, in particular for vacuum cleaner sales, and they did introduce a lot of innovations and great products over the years. They had a recognizable building as their headquarters, the Hoover Building in Greater London, that has an interesting Art Deco design and offered the chance for visitors to look around the factory around the 1930s. They had a royal warrant, name recognition, and were overall flying pretty high. Until the end of the century in 1992, the UK had an economic recession, and Hoover was starting to see their revenue fall and fall and fall, with competing vacuum cleaners coming onto the market. Fearing that interest in their company was dropping and having essentially piles and piles of products they needed to shift, they came up with a plan. The initial idea was that Hoover would offer free round-trip airline tickets to Europe to customers who bought at least £100 worth of Hoover products.
A simple demonstration of what you can pick up if you spend over £100 on any Hoover product. We'll give you 2 return flights each to either Rome, Vienna, Sierra Nevada, the Canary Islands, Munich, or the Costa del Sol. Unbelievable.
They partnered with a company called JSI Travel that was also struggling. JSI Travel hoped they could sell additional services like travel insurance to customers, and that there would be a benefit of this promotion for them because they'd be increasing awareness of their travel agency services. And actually, the initial promotion worked as Hoover hoped it would. It did increase interest and sales in the company, and many people did not follow through on claiming the vouchers, which Hoover had purposely made tedious to figure out how to redeem, so hey, good idea. Except then they decided to take it one step too far. They wanted to increase the destination options available to the USA. This would mean the retail value of the flight would now be around 600 pounds, requiring only a 100-pound purchase from Hoover. You do not have to be a marketing genius to start questioning the math on that one. The slogan was 2 free flights. Unbelievable. And it really was unbelievable, but in a different way. They were led by the assumption that people would spend far more than the 100 pounds, which I don't understand because we're talking about household appliances here, not exactly the type of product that people need to replace all at once. And they also assumed, based on their previous promotion, that people would continue to not follow through on redeeming the vouchers. Unfortunately for them, we as humans are both cheapskates and willing to put in a lot of work for something we see as free. So this was not the case, and they were swamped with demand and applications. They thought they'd get around 50,000, but the final total was around 300,000. And they did everything they could to make it unappealing. After you bought the Hoover product, you had to mail in a receipt within 14 days. Then they'd mail you a registration form, which you had another 14 days to send back. Then they'd send you a travel voucher, and you had 30 days to send your pick of 3 departure airport, date, and destination combinations, which they could reject and make you do again. They could reject again and finally tell you 3 combinations of their own that you need to decide between. The cost of the total flights they would owe consumers was estimated to be more than 100 million pounds, and the company only generated around 30 million pounds in gross sales from the promotion. So then they panicked, as you would, and allegedly started some shady tactics to try and make it even harder for people to redeem the flight vouchers, including purposefully only offering airport options on the complete opposite side of the country from where people lived, and sending out registration forms on holidays so that it might be delayed in the mail and not Hoover's fault, technically, and give people a shorter amount of time to return their registration if they even got it in time. People didn't necessarily know at first that others were having problems redeeming their free flights, but a reporter for the Daily Record broke the story that not a single airline had received a booking to America from a Hoover voucher holder, and not only were people up in arms, but then even more people knew about the promotion that still existed, leading to thousands more sales that the company couldn't fill. Then a man named Harry got very upset and created the Hoover Holidays Pressure Group to protest against what had happened. Hoover was even taken to court over this promotion. As a result, shortly after, a few Hoover executives did lose their jobs, and understandably, the trust of the British public in the brand was pretty much shattered. Plus, on a more practical note, people then had a bunch of Hoover vacuum cleaners lying around that they never even wanted in the first place, making the secondhand market for Hoovers more appealing for people than just buying direct. So Hoover then cost themselves even more in future sales since they had pretty much inundated the country with their cheapest vacuums. Fast forward 10 years, people are not letting this go. A BBC watchdog program in 2004 led to a further resurgence of awareness of this horribly failed promotion, and some sources state this caused the royal family to withdraw the royal warrant that Hoover had, which is a mark of recognition for trusted companies. However, I cannot find anything besides a single Telegraph article in 2012 that states this, and then a bunch of other sources parroting this information. But it did make me question because Hoover UK themselves posted in 2016 on Twitter that they had had a royal warrant at this point for over 60 years. So either the truth is that there was pressure to remove the royal warrant, but it never happened, or I guess no one alerted the social media intern at Hoover UK that it had happened. One way or the other, I don't want to tell you 100% either way with conflicting information, but people were outraged and they definitely called for the royal warrant to be removed. Today, Hoover in the UK are much bigger in the home appliances space like tumble dryers, washing machines, and fridges, though they still own around less than 10% of that market share, and they certainly do not market their vacuum cleaners via their social media as much as their other appliances. Though you can still buy a Hoover vacuum cleaner if the one you bought in 1992 when trying to get a free flight to America has gone kaput and you still really want the brand. I would love to know, do you have memories of this promotion? Do you remember it? What do you think of Hoover in general? Is this a story you've heard before? Let me know in the comments, and thanks very much for watching.